Ready to go.
It's Wednesday, 23rd of September 2020. In today's show, we are joined by musical maestro and now supporters club impresario Andy Higgins, who's going to tell us all about the new Armfield Supporters Club. And we're also going to catch up on all the latest pool news since the last pod. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders Podcast, episode 174, the Armfield Club with Higgi.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Right, good evening, listeners. Welcome back to the Seasiders Podcast, episode 174. It's a special episode, the Armfield Club with Higgi. You've heard the voice singing our theme tune several times, and he's been on the pod several times in the pub before, so it's good. It's a good friend, and he's back. It's Andy Higgins. Hi, Andy.
Good evening, John.
It's great to have you back on, Andy.
It's great to be on here again, matey.
Yeah, and what are we on? Like, is it 3 or 4, something like that? It's at least 3.
Yes, something like that. Pal.
Who'd have thought? 10 years on since we sat in that little box room of mine, hacking together that little video to the Legend song that we'd still be here 10 years later. And none of us look any older, do we?
Dear me. I might certainly feel it, son.
For the uninitiated out there, Andy is the singer on our intro song, Legends. Andy penned that song a while back, and it's stuck, and it's our theme tune. So
actually, I've got to say, Higgi, John tried to get rid of it at one point and said we should change it, and
No, I didn't. And
I said no. It's integral.
I said maybe we should update it. That's what I said. I never said get rid.
Well, I tell you, Tim, I didn't know about seriously playing flouncing from the show now.
Do you know, Andy, I was thinking of asking you to do a punk version of the Nolan's Blackpool song. How do you think that would work?
I don't know. We'd have to put it in a bit of a lower key, I think, because it's quite high, isn't it? So, yeah.
Could just kick you in the bollocks before you start singing.
Well, give it a shot. Why not? We like a challenge, don't we, mate?
I'll let Tim do the kicking, though. He's an experienced lawyer, after all, in case there's any repercussions. Joining us on the show this evening are Tim, as ever. Good evening, Tim.
Evening.
And Nick just made it. Apologies, this is a live stream, and we are a couple of minutes late because of some gremlins that were attaching themselves to Nick, weren't they, Nick?
Bizarrely, because I've been on since 7:30 getting ready. We did the test call and everything was perfect. And literally, there was 8 seconds to go and it just muted everybody. So anyway, I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. A nice tangerine t-shirt as well. We're almost all in tangerine. I've got my old Wong shirt on. Andy, you're letting the side down.
Yeah. I like to be different, though.
Right, fair enough. You are a punk, after all. Right. So, the main focus of this show is to talk about the Armfield Club, which, Andy, you're heavily involved in. So we're going to be asking you quite a few questions about it. And feel free to plug anything you want, because we've all seen the pictures and it's absolutely fantastic what's going on there. So feel free to advertise anything, whore yourself out, do whatever you want within reason.
No, will do. Will do.
Right, so we've got a few questions we're going to fire at you. So I'd like you to answer these as best you could, if possible. So the first one I want to ask you, Andy, is how did this project come about and what's your involvement in it?
Well, like all quite interesting things, they start from very small acorns, don't they? And it was a conversation between the Ex-Players Association, John Cross, a BST committee member, Derek Spence, who you'll know, author and international goal scorer for Northern Ireland, and a few of our friends. that there was the number one club was vacant. The previous tenant hadn't been paying any money on it, and Derek knew the landlord, and he was keen for something to happen with this, because I think it's been opened a couple of times in the past 4 or 5 years, and people have given it a shot, but it's never been made a proper success of. So conversations took place thereafter. A group of us got together, and this is sort of going back to about May time, believe it or not. And then we formed a bit of a group together, talked in depth and at length about what we could potentially do. And there's so many things we can do because it's such an enormous place. And then we moved forward from there. We formed a limited company. We were in negotiations with the landlord for probably about 3 months. We only got clearance on the lease a matter of weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. But we've been in there refurbishing 3 bars. It's a massive undertaking for about 6 weeks. So that's where it came from. It was just an innocent conversation. Do you know anybody who might be interested in doing something with this property? And it's sort of grown arms and legs from there, John, to be honest.
Right. You know, it's funny because last time I walked past that, it had shut down, hadn't it? And I was thinking, someone should do something with this. Someone, it'd make a great supporters bar. And lo and behold, it's happening. So brilliant. So have you any experience in this field, Andy?
Absolutely none whatsoever. No, I haven't. Not in terms of opening bars. We've got a mixture of people involved, and I suppose we've got different sort of skill sets, and they seem to have worked together quite well, really. So we sort of crossed the spectrum. We've had involvement in bars, normally on the right side of the bar, I'd hasten to add most of it. But thankfully, we've got Andy Grice on board, who's our bar manager. And so Andy's got an awful lot of experience. So we've sort of pulled resources, and we've got it as far as where we've got it now, which, I think Tim was down early today having a little look round. BST popped round last week, and a few people have been in to have a look. And we've really radically transformed it in a matter of 6 weeks from what it was, because it was dank, dreary, no power, no gas coming into the building, everything boarded up, getting broken into fairly regularly, and the skips and skips of rotten stuff I've had to sort of get out of there. So there's been a lot of work to get it anywhere near acceptability. So it's been an enjoyable but tough ordeal, I'd say.
Right. So
are you still on? Sorry, John. Are you still going to be on target for your opening date, Andy?
Yeah, it's full steam ahead, working round the clock there. 3rd of October we're aiming for.
Yeah.
If I said we've got, I think, 4 more bathrooms to do in that place, a lot of flooring, and some other jobs. People looked at it 5 or 6 weeks ago and said, "There's no chance in a million years." Then they look at it 3 weeks and say, "Well, I'm amazed with what you've done, but you've still got a lot on." So I think it's a bit of a challenge, because the lads who are in charge of the operational side, and when you talk operations, there's everything from floor. All the floors have been relayed. Everything's been done. All the furniture's been built, redeveloped. We've had people doing fabrication work for us, plastering, everything. Just the whole thing's been recabled. We've had to get the EPOS terminal sorted, the CCTV. It's been a really big project, and it's 3 floors, as you know. Those of you that've been in there, really big place. So it's like 3 pub refits in the space of about 2 months with a bunch of mates doing it.
Which leads me on to my next question, Andy. So who's been actually doing the work, and has it all been kind of volunteers?
A lot of it has been volunteers. There's some work and there's some stuff we've had to pay for. And it's eaten up quite a lot of money, to be honest. I mean, we planned as best we could for this because we knew there's going to be some reasonably significant investment. But, some of the lads that have been down there haven't just been down for a few hours. They've been down for days, been taking time off work, taking a week off work and just coming and working every day. So it's from dawn till dusk every day that lads are in there, and dusk beyond now, because we finally got the power on about 2 weeks ago, which was great. So we could work in the dark as well every night to opening, really. So it's it's a really endearing story. The goodwill that's been generated, because, like I think I mentioned earlier today, people are all doing it for the love and not the money, just to be involved and be part of something like this. So it's been amazing, really. And there's lots more since we've had a bit of publicity coming out in the last week. A lot of other people have got in touch, said, if you need me for a few hours, just give me a shout. I'm straight down there. So we think we've got it in hand with what we've got lined up and the lads that are working there. So I think if we get it open on that day and everything works, we'll all be sort of slightly amazed. But it's a Blackpool style of doing things, isn't it? You've got to get 110%, and then you do it in the most unlikely circumstances, really.
It did make me wish I was a sort of a tradesman rather than just a keyboard presser who sits behind a desk all day. Because I'd have loved to have come down and help out, but I'd probably made things worse if I'd have picked up a hammer.
You know what? Me too. My skills, if I've got any, sort of lie somewhat elsewhere. But some of the lads that have been working in there, I call them the Trojans. Some of them we've gone in at the end of the day, and they've just had to go home and go to bed. They've not stopped working all day, and for days and days on end. And it's just frightening, really, the amount of work that's gone in there. It's tremendous, really. It's superb.
Right, Andy, you mentioned there's going to be several rooms on that great video, at least, put together. Just tell all the listeners and the viewers a bit more about each room and your reasonings for creating each room as it is. Sure.
Okay, so for those that haven't been in there, it's a little bit like a TARDIS. It's actually two buildings together. So everybody that goes around and has a look in there, the first thing they say is, my goodness, I had no idea it was so big, this place. There's an awful lot of history to the building, which I can mention in a bit. But in terms of the format of the building and the layout, there's basically 4 rooms. On the ground floor, as you go in through the main entrance, up the ramp, to the left, you've got the main bar. And so in there, that's the main focus. That's going to hopefully open every day of the week. And that's going to be the main bar in the sense that it's the largest bar, but also it'll serve the most beers. We're going to have about 12 pumps on that bar, so it's going to be quite a busy bar. In front of to the right of the entrance, when you come in, there's a room which we'll name the War Room, which is going to be the home of Lee Charles TV. Hopefully, Blackpool Supporters Trust and other supporter group that want to get involved have reached out to pretty much everybody, and also the Ex-Players Association. So on match days, we envisage that there'll be interviews and things going on there. That'll be a little bit of a quieter oasis away from the main hubbub in the main bars. So that's the War Room.
Why is that called the War Room?
Well, I think it was because all this has happened under sort of lockdown and, Cobra meetings in the War Room. And the reason why we're going to do that is we're going to document in there the struggle in terms of what we had over the sort of dark years against the previous owners, because that was really the catalyst that brought us all together. I mean, we've all been friends to a certain degree, but we've all become closer friends, particularly, and I'd say in present company as well, we'll probably agree, we've got to know each other an awful lot better through the boycott and then working with each other, be it in terms of Not a Penny More or the various fundraisers or the court cases, and we've all become quite close-knit. So we wanted to document that and have as much input from the supporters as possible. So there's a project underway to decorate that wall. We've got Rob Purden doing, the homeward fresco on the final, the homecoming day, but all around the room, we're going to sort of document it in terms of photographs, court papers, any information, and make it a really quite an interesting thing that people would like to go and visit, because nowhere else in Blackpool would show anything like that. It's because it's political. I mean, if you go into Witherspoons, the Velvet Coaster, we say it's like the biggest pub in Britain in terms of square foot ground floor spacage. But the history of Blackpool, according to them, is all about the Pleasure Beach and the Tower. There's nothing about the football club, which is probably the most famous thing ever to come from this town. And there'll be absolutely nothing about anything to do with local culture, the music or the culture surrounding football. So we thought, well, what a good opportunity, to really document this and sort of tell our story in our own way, really, not being censored or need to be sanitized. It's just the way that it was and the way we understand it. So that's the War Room.
Okay, Tim. Just I'll give you voice a breath, a break, Andy. So the War Room, Tim, was that where you varnished that coffin? Is that the correct room?
No, I did that at home. What the water?
Well, is that the one where we picked the coffin up? Remember on the march? Do you remember it was in the war rooms as you go on the right? Is that right?
Yeah, it was the old Jag Lounge, which is where the Jaguar cars were first. It's where it came from, isn't it, Andy? From what you were saying on your video earlier, that I listened to earlier. But it's also that room is where CISA was formed back in 2013. It was where the first meeting was held. So it's quite apt, I think, that's where the war room, where perhaps the history of the protest movement is going to be recorded, because that's very much where from my perspective it started. And I remember sitting in that first meeting, not intending to get involved in any really shape or form. And obviously, I mean, to be honest, I went around with the Grimmy before, and what I think was perhaps really resonated with me was that every room is very central to the history of everything we did to get rid of the Oystons. Because if you go downstairs into the bar that they've got down there, that's where Carl turned up to the CISA meeting and sat there twiddling on his phone and posting as the Dark Lord. And then you go upstairs, and that's where we had the first BST meeting, when we had to hold back-to-back meetings, if you remember. So the place just bleeds Blackpool history, doesn't it? And I don't think you could actually. I was originally thinking we could do something in the old Paris Casino, but when you think about it, I don't think there's a better place. I mean, I think it's got everything that you would want for what we as Blackpool fans and these guys have taken the lead in a fantastic way. Everything we'd want for a home for our support base. It's fantastic.
So, Andy, let's get back to the layout of the club itself. So downstairs there was a basement that Tim's just mentioned. What are your plans for the downstairs in the basement?
So downstairs the basement, it's a really large room. So if you've been in on the ground floor bar, if you imagine that plus another 50% almost stretching right across, there's full-size snooker tables down there, and there's a smaller bar than the main bar upstairs, and that's going to be called the Brett Almarod Sports Bar. We spoke with Brett. Grimmy turned the charm on and phoned him up, and I don't think he saying no. But cracking lad, as we know, Brett, because we were closely involved, obviously, with his testimonial when we did that at AFC Blackpool. So that's the Brett Almarod Sports Bar. And we envisage down there we'll have darts teams, snooker teams, pool teams, during the weeknights, which is quite important to get people in there to bring some revenue. So that's the downstairs. And on the top floor, where if anybody went to any BST meetings, we probably had a good 5 or 6 meetings there. I remember lugging up the PA every month and setting up, and we got some great attendances, had some great meetings up there, really. So that's like a function room, really, the way that it's set out. And that's going to be called the Billiard Lounge. We got in touch with Rachel, Billy's daughter, and Billy's son, David, and politely requested, and they were like only too pleased to say, that'd be great. And just in a wee bit in terms of decoration, we've had our friend Rob Purden down, and Rob's going to be putting together Brett Ormerod picture and also a Billiard picture leading down and leading up to those respective rooms. So you'll be familiar with Rob, a lot of the listeners, in terms of the designs that he did for the programs and a lot of his work. So we thought it's all fitting, all local, and it all just seems to fit together, really.
He's released the Billiard artwork on Twitter today. I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Yeah, it's
excellent, brilliant.
Yeah.
Since it's there in the flesh as well, it arrived, I think, today. So it's very, very impressive. Just the type of thing you want for this type of venue. It's going to catch people's attention. I'm sure the Brett one will as well. Very iconic, quite moving in a way, the way that he's drawn them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, a lot of emotion in there, isn't there, really? And that's what matters. That's what connects us, I think. Yeah. So that's great. And again, another great example of somebody giving a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, just for the love of the project and for the love of Blackpool, really, because we're all Blackpool to the core. Everybody that goes down there and gets involved, they're just all crazy Blackpool fans, really, you know, and all just looking to express themselves and just to help the local community, I think, which I think's, you know, an amazing thing. I really do.
Higgy, I've seen a lot of people on social media as well who are donating various bits of memorabilia that they've got, which will look great as well, shirts and footballs and stuff. So that'll be brilliant to see as well. I don't know if you can see behind John that Vaux shirt in the background. That one's mine. I'd like to say it's match worn, but it isn't. It's worn by me at 5-a-side, so nearly as valuable as a match worn shirt. So I'll donate that. I'll drop that off when I get a chance, and you can, if you want to frame it or hang it up anywhere in the club, you're welcome to.
Do you know, it'd be a privilege. One thing that's not out on the social media yet, we've actually got a signed Jimmy Armfield England shirt, which is currently being framed and being donated.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
I've got a signed shirt somewhere. I'll dig that out. I'll donate that as well. I'll have a Seasiders podcast area.
It's quite interesting this, because I was speaking to Andy before, and as he's mentioned on the video he did with Lee, we've been to Germany a bit, haven't we, Andy? And how much do you think your experiences over there might have just influenced your approach to this? Because it's not something you normally see in England, and something like this, is it?
No. Well, I think it influenced us a great deal. Can you guys hear me okay? It's getting a little bit...
Yeah,
Tim. I mean, and I know when we were over there, because that was a product, obviously, of the that Not a Penny More. We went across for our football fix up and down the fatherland, visiting lots of different clubs. And I don't know if it was Kaiserslautern or Freiburg. There's somewhere where we were, and we were all talking about it. And they had their own supporters-owned area inside the ground, which was decorated with all the heroes that they had, which was absolutely great. And they stamped their authority on it. They ran it as their own concern, which you find all across Europe, really. You know, in terms of, I'm just reading a book, 1312, about the ultra movement, and it's the same all across the Balkans, down to Greece, Turkey. The involvement with the fans is enormous. The culture in the UK is different. So I think we said, wouldn't it be nice to have our own supporters bar once we come to the end of this current ordeal with the Oystons? And wouldn't it be nice to have it in the ground? But I think because of what we've been through, I think it's nice that we're having it as an independent thing, because I know we all know the old trope that obviously fans are forever and everybody else sort of directly involved in the club is to an extent transient and temporary. But I've got to say as well, we've got a super relationship with the club. The directors have been across, have met with us, have donated things. We've had a couple of chats and a couple of beers with them. They've been absolutely wonderfully supportive, which is a good thing. So the Germany thing really, I think in my mind, one of the reasons why I was so motivated to do it was recreate what we saw over in Germany, but, you know, in our own way, really, Tim, you know, on our own terms. So I think it's a fact.
I think that's what makes it special, is that, you know, you take your influences from different places, don't you? I mean, I know in England, probably the nearest thing I've seen in England is probably FC United, where they have this community centre near the new ground in Moston, and there's a cinema in there where they watch games. They watch the United games before they watch FC United, but they've got coffee areas where you can go and have a coffee, areas where you can go and read, areas where you can go and have a drink, snooker and stuff like that. It's a real hub. And I remember going there and thinking, I'm quite jealous we've not got something like this at Blackpool. And having gone around there tonight, I'm now thinking, well, actually, we've not only got something like that at Blackpool, but something probably a lot better, because it looks like it's going to be a far, far better standard of place to go in. And secondly, it's all about us, isn't it? And I think that's what the most important thing with anything like this. It's about taking the influences, but making it yours and making it unique. And I think you're about to create something probably pretty unique in English football, which is really, really pleasing.
Yeah, it certainly is, Andy. So I was just going to ask you about funding this development. Is this all going to come out of your own pocket? And if so, I think you should set up a Kickstarter style campaign, because I'm sure that's something all Blackpool fans will get behind, just to ensure it's financed by the fans and it's not coming out from one person's or a couple of people's pockets.
Yeah, so it's been financed by. Well, we thought about this when we first thought about starting this up. We thought, should we do like a crowdfunding exercise to get some money together? Obviously, there's a lot of goodwill surrounding it, but for this speed, it needs to be run like a proper business because we need, well, at least one full-time employee, a lot of bar staff, and then we need to run everything else on the operational side because it is a small business, isn't it, really? Even though it's quite a large bar-sized business. So we made the decision, right, okay, and we've got together and we've worked. So we're financing it ourselves. And a lot of things have turned out to be quite a bit more expensive than we anticipated, because it's a large thing, really. But in terms of income streams, really, because we've been working on it for 6 weeks. We've only really been able to publicise it once the lease was completed, which was about 2 weeks ago. So the first thing we put up was memberships, and we've had quite a good response there. You can get, 1, 2 or 3 year membership. So that's revenue coming into us because we need obviously that cash injection early on. The other thing in terms of getting some money in, we've got one sponsor lined up, which we'll sort of come out fairly publicly with quite soon. But we're looking for sponsors because that's another cash injection, and we want to do it on a sort of an annual basis, really, for the Billiard Lounge, the Almarod Sports Bar, and we've also got a little area in there called the Not a Penny More Bar. As you walk in, because we think people want to get served quickly, we're going to have a card only bar, and we thought the Not a Penny More Bar, bottle bar, is quite a good name. So we're looking for any sponsors, any people run businesses out there, if they want to get in touch and have a chat about it. We do have a sponsor pretty much already sorted out for the membership cards. There'll be 1,000 thereof with that company emblazoned on the back. We've just got to get that finalised in the next day or so. And in terms of, we're going to be quite active on social media. We've got the Twitter and the Facebook. We're getting some good assistance of some friends in our mids from the TKs and BST who know about these things a bit better than we do. So what we're going to have in terms of the sponsorship, we're working with BT and also Sky, and they do a lot of quite clever things on social media to assist us, whereby we can say what's coming up this weekend, which games we're going to be featuring, and then it's going to be in conjunction with the main sponsors that we're going to have there. We're going to have the rear of the tills are going to have the logos going all the time of the people that are sponsoring, the televisions when there's football not on there. So we're going to give as much reach as we can to people that want to come in and assist. And they're the main things we're looking at in terms of sponsorship. As I say, the War Room, the Billiard Lounge, the Brett Ormond Sports Bar, the Not a Penny More Bar. They'd be good things if people out there are interested. Drop an email. We could have a chat, see if there's something we could sort out. That'd be super.
How can people contact you, Andy?
Via the armfieldclub.co.uk or just AVFTT or on Twitter. I mean, we're all joined in together. We're all doing it between ourselves. So if anybody, and we're working it properly, like a proper business, in the sense that if anybody shows interest in sponsorship, it's coming my way. If there's issues with certain operational things, I don't know, be it health and safety and fire and all the COVID-related stuff, we've got other members of the group taking responsibility for that. So yeah, if anyone finds the way to me, I'm not difficult to find on social media. No. That'd be really good. One of the things, just out of interest, the big gable end wall. As you walk down Bloomfield Road and you see it, we're sort of painting that white. It needs re-rendering, which will happen in time, but that's quite a big job. We were thinking of getting some street art on there, some Blackpool FC related street art from the fans or whatever. So we've made 1 or 2 connections. That might be quite a unique and interesting thing. In time, if planning permission is given, there's going to be quite a large advertising hoarding there, 3 meters by 3 meters or bigger. So quite a big thing whereby the adverts and various slots, as they call them, going all around the clock. So that will be another thing where people are able to get some advertising sponsorship for businesses, really. So
just going back to membership, Andy, can you tell what options are out there for people? I know you mentioned you can have a 1 year or 3 year. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
and how much?
Yeah, it's £10 for 1 year, £20 for 2 years, and if somebody wants to go for 3 years, it's £25. So that it's discounted. You'll recoup that quite significantly. We're getting all the EPOS tills programmed for when we open So that's quite a big endeavour that's going on. So when somebody goes to the till with one of the cards or is recognised, and they'll all be registered on the system, you get discount on all your beer. So if you're buying a few rounds there, you'll soon make your money back on that. So we have a different tariff, the standard tariff, and then you have the members tariff. What we're doing as well on top of that, we talked about kids membership, and we thought we don't want to be charging anything for kids, so we're going to get some quite nice cards.
Or serving them beer.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's all licensed. So obviously, yeah, we've got to be ultra careful with this. But yeah, in terms of anybody wants to bring the kids, all kids are free, all kids are welcome. We've got a few ideas of things whereby we can get things sorted in time. But we're going to get free little membership cards for all the kids, so they don't have to pay for them. So if the dad joins, I've got 2 boys, whatever, or girls, whatever, we can give them so they'll have their own little membership cards as well.
Okay. So is membership optional then? So you don't have to be a member to enter the premises and have a drink? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, it's not a social club. We've got a membership card which
hell.
might give you preference on match days. You know, I mean, we'll talk about the capacity of the place. We don't know what the reaction is going to be. Looking really positive at the moment. We want to get as many people in there as we can. So, you know, maybe in terms of booking tables and things, we might have to give preference to the members. You know, people that have invested in the endeavour, really. But during the week, you know, anybody could go in there. Match days, we'll be checking memberships and things like that, because hopefully it's going to be really, really busy.
What about away fans? Are they going to be allowed in?
No, they're not going to be allowed in. We spoke with the police at length about this, and they would prefer away fans not to be involved there because of the potential for trouble. And it is such a big place. I mean, if trouble broke out on one of those floors, you know, there's fire escapes here and everywhere, but it is a massive building. It's hard to monitor and to police, and it's the last thing that we want, because that's the thing that licensing come down on. If there's trouble there and there's aggro, we could get the license withdrawn, and then, you know, we're up that creek without a paddle. So in terms of away fans, though, in terms of, say, members of Supporters Trust that want to come and have a look at what we're doing, that's what the war room will be for. So, you know, we've made a lot of good alliances and friends, you know, in the UK from different supporters, trusts and groups. And if they would like to come down, we can arrange for that. And so we'll be giving access to the war room on match days for sort of VIP guests or like-minded football fans that have assisted us that want to come and have a look around. So on match day, we will be allowing a few in, but they'll have to be okayed with the police first. On days that aren't match days, though, I'm sure, you know, when people come to town, if the war room becomes as iconic as we'd like it to be, you know, we'll have people go in there that would like to look around and look at the memorabilia. We've had some wonderful offers of things that are going to be in that war room. So it'll be a little bit of interesting sort of social history, you know, cultural history there of this, you know, the 2020 period, really. So,
well, Andy, what's the capacity of the place? It's obviously it's a real decent size, but how many people do you going to get in? Let's assume no COVID restrictions, and how many do you think you're going to be allowed in the short term?
Yeah, so post-COVID, when COVID disappears, and we all look forward to that day, we reckon we're going to be in the region of about 750, which is big. There's a lot of people, obviously, you know, 750 people under COVID as it stands at the moment, with the social distancing, the groups of 6, the pods and various things. We're thinking somewhere in the region of about 250 to 270. We've got to get all the tables and things sorted. We've got to run through all that, which you're going to be doing next week to get that sorted. So 250 to 280, let's say, depending, you know, where we can get people in and get them in safely. And we've got the ingress and egress points. We've got to do all that, obviously.
I've got to say, by the way, I love the upholstery that's going on in there at the moment. I don't know if I'm giving too much away, but there's those horrible patterned seats that used to sit all the way around the rooms is going to look slightly brighter, and you can probably guess what colour that's going to be, and it looks fantastic. It's not finished yet, but there's certain sections done, and it looks brilliant.
Yeah, no, very true, Tim. Yeah, yes, it's great. The amount of people that we've pulled in to this endeavour, we're saying it's like butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. We've got upholsterers, plasterers, we've got glaziers, we've got gas engineers, we've got electrical engineers, we've got joiners, the whole lot. I mean, I can't think of many artisans that haven't been in there, really. So it's like, you know, building Noah's Ark for football supporters. Been amazing.
So speaking of artisans, Andy, so this is a very important question that I'm going to hit you with now. What beers are you going to be selling in there? I know there's a lot of artisan beer snobs out there. So
Yeah, any real ales?
yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Out of our group, I've been the champion of real ales because, as you probably know, I do like a real ale, particularly a dark one. And so, yes, one slight issue we've encountered, and I'll tell you about all the beers and various things. We've got the craft beer people coming in this week. So the way the market works for getting beers in, you don't go to Carlsberg, you don't go to Mars to buy a Mars bar, you go to a wholesaler. So we're working with a couple of breweries. We've got, in terms of the beers there, we've got all the standard beers on. We've got about, I think, 3 lagers, a couple of bitters, John Smiths and Boddingtons. Then we'll have Strongbow, dark fruits, Carlin dark fruits, and you tend to get them in batches. So one brewery, whatever, they will, or one wholesale will Coors will be their main. So,
Oh, I've lost him.
Here he comes. Can't keep a good man down.
that was the son of Glyn James. I've just killed the call. Oh dear me. He's not. He doesn't even listen to the radio, James.
The price of popularity, Andy?
Well, anyhow, So I think I mentioned, so there'll be Coors, Bud, etc., etc. It's important we get this mix of beers in because Sky TV and BT work really closely with the breweries, and so basically the subscriptions that we have to pay, and we've signed up for BT and Sky, comes down significantly based on all your beers and your cellar, which is
serious.
And your cellar, which is a massive thing, and those that we take on a bit of a guided tour, which we'll do. We'll take them and show them the cellar. To pump beer to 3 floors is quite a big endeavour. A lot of the times you have your cellar right below your bar. So for the normal beers, through your chiller units and all the pipes and things like lager and standard bitter all works really easily. Now, the real ale, there's a bit of a challenge there because the distance from the cellar to the main bar is quite significant. But we've got some very creative real ale people in the industry down there looking at this to solve this little problem that we have, because I'm determined that we should have, it's been asked so many times, well, we need 3 real ales in there, 2 sort of lighter ales and 1 dark ale, which you've got at places like the Number 10 Ale House, places like that, because people of an age like to sit and drink that beer, don't they? And
people of a certain vintage, they do.
Well, yeah. So, and what we want it to, it's a big factor, isn't it? Big factor in the equation. For me personally, there's a few grumbles around the table when I was talking about Stay Puffed and Saltaire, and people were like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, and by the way, Andy, according to Sizer, we need some cloudy cider,
otherwise known as Old Tim's Ruin.
You'll have trouble every week if you start.
Oh yeah,
serving that.
Make sure Grimmy's at the door when Tim's in there on the old vintage ciders.
I'll have to recuse myself from doing the post-match pod if they start selling that.
What that was, Andy? Tim had we had a few when we did a pod. And, Tim had this really strong vintage cider, and he turned the room blue.
He got who did he get mixed up? Was it DJ Campbell and Dobby? I think
something like that.
He invented he invented a new player called DJ Dobby. So the quick funny one from Martin Kelly. Martin said, "Have you thought about asking anyone from Bargain Booze to sponsor the Not a Penny More bar?" I think we all know what he's referring to there, or who he's referring to.
Very good. Yeah. We will be selective in terms of who will accept the sponsors. Yeah.
Right, I've lost my train of thought now. Right, provision for kids. That was my latest question, Andy. You did touch on it earlier. Is there anything in there for kids to do so we can chuck them in a corner and not bother us while we're all having a drink? How about that?
Well, do you know what? I mean, we're up against it in terms of time, and I've got to confess that there's nothing planned in terms of the opening. The kids obviously welcome to come in, but they'll have to be accompanied by the parent. One thing we thought about, there's an awful lot of space up there. For instance, on the top floor, we've got the big function room, but we've got an awful lot of rooms behind that up there. So we've had a few offers from people to say, I could potentially do something with the kids. In the past we had the tango group that looks after the kids. We even thought, why don't we, get some foam football and a five-a-side thing or something for the kids or whatever. So we'll have to see on that, but we're really conscious of that because we want to make it to go to a place where people can go, and if they want to, in the nicest way, offload the kids to somebody. With some, dads and mums.
I'm all up with that.
We'll create in one way or another a facility to do that because we want everyone, because we don't want the kids just standing around bored. I know what it's like when I was a lad.
Yeah.
I'd be sat there and I'd be thinking, it must be Thursday. He's had about 4 of them.
Do you remember like we went to Doncaster and to the side of the area where we were having our beers, they set up an area where the kids could do a little bit of like relatively softball shooting. There, you could put some games in there. You could have Bloomfield Bear having an appearance at 1:30 or something, couldn't you? There's all sorts of things you could do for the younger ones that would make it a special place for them, where they actually think, I actually want to come here, which obviously makes it easier for dads and mums who are bringing them along than just obviously them having to sit in the corner with the proverbial packet of crisps and a Coke. So I think there is some opportunities there, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always like taking my lad into. Well, I would like to take him into the Dog because that's kind of the best beer and it's cheap, and I like the atmosphere in the Dog, but you can't take kids in there. So when I've got my son with me, I'm pretty limited to what I can do in and around the ground pub wise. So hopefully something gets sorted out there.
There's also Andy, that huge Grimmy was showing me tonight, and I'd forgotten. You don't even realise there's that huge area of land right next to it, isn't there? That's effectively wasteland at the moment, isn't it? And maybe there's some opportunities there because I think that was the original bowling green, if I remember right.
Where's that, Tim?
As you walk up from the traffic lights where Jimmy's statue is, on the left-hand side, just before you get to the entrance, there's a huge green area that's just wasteland, to be honest. And it's Grimmy was telling me about it. I thought, what's he on about? And then so when I come out, I looked at it, and it's massive. It's almost
I don't know what you mean.
It's almost like the size of a football pitch, a relatively small football pitch. And I think if there's an opportunity there for the council to put a bit of a park on, or allow these guys here to do something with it to brighten it up a bit, then maybe there's an opportunity there for particularly if the weather's okay, to sit outside, have a bit of a half in, half out scenario where there's a bit of covering, and there's all sorts of things you can do. But at the moment, that area is just going to waste, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, and it's something we've talked about. We'll when we get over the bump, everything ironed out and all the kinks sorted for opening, that's something we'd like to speak with the council about. We assume it's council land. We're going to look at access rights and various things, but like you say, it's going to waste. When we took the ex-players around, they're saying, well, part of that could be a nice part of like a memorial thing. And well, why not? And then, you could either use it for, like you say, Tim, if you can get the license and get agreement for people to go out and have a drink there, or someone for the kids to play. Yeah, it would be great if we could do something with that. That would be a wonderful thing.
Right, I've just got a couple more and then questions, and then Tim's got some. That's just coming from Cliff Smith. It's so refreshing to see you outline plans for engaging with kids. They are the future lifeblood of our club. Absolutely, Cliff. Given the fact we've suffered not a penny more, we've lost the whole generation of fans, and now we've got COVID. So I think it's really important to get these young kids into Blackpool at a young age, so we don't lose them to the likes of Man United, City, etc. So yeah, hopefully we can do something there. This is a bit of a daft question I wrote down, Andy. Is there going to be any natural light in the bottom 2 floors? Because I do remember being in there and there's no windows in the main bar on the left-hand side, and it was just a bit dank.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Well, downstairs, I don't think there's any natural light at all downstairs. So that is, we've had all the lighting redone. So you're right, downstairs, there's no lighting at all. I don't think. No, on the ground floor though there is. There's windows, so there's natural light coming through there. We've decorated all the blinds there, but we can roll those up. So it's fairly well. We couldn't work downstairs before we got the power on. That was a thing. So that's the last room we're working on. and the power took us about 3 or 4 weeks to get turned on with our current energy supply. It was a bloody minefield, to be honest. But yeah, it's quite well lighted on the
Right.
on the ground floor. But like you say, downstairs there's no natural light at all.
How many people can come in the building under COVID restrictions currently?
Well, I think we mentioned it's probably between 250, 280.
Right, okay, that's a reasonable amount.
Yes, it's still a fair chunk.
Yeah. Right, Tim, over to you now. I've exhausted all my questions.
Well, I've sort of snuck a couple of mine in on route, to be honest. So I think the other thing, Andy, that you mentioned was something about these journals that you were hoping to display. What are they about?
Well, you mentioned before about the room where Cecil was. As you stand going down Bloomfield Road and you turn to face the building, the building is 2 buildings together, basically. And the building to the right, some of you might even remember that they used to have a blue plaque on the building because to commemorate Swallow Sidecars, which was the formative company that went on to be Jaguar Cars. I think there's a blue plaque in Cocker Street. They moved to Cocker Street, but that room was known as the Jag Room. And that's where the first Jaguar was built, which is a great bit of local history. So we're in touch with Jaguar because it's a really story. But one thing that we found, Tim, was all the old records and handwritten journals from the Working Men's Club prior to World War One. They're beautifully handwritten, all in these really lovely journals in excellent condition, detailing who was at the meeting, what they were discussing. And it's a real interesting archive to sort of get into and read. So we're sort of ring fenced that and thought, right, we'll look into this. We've got them all safe, kept them all there, because it's a wonderful thing, you know. And even during wartime, we've got the journals there. So it's going to be a really interesting little history project. That so there's 2 ones there. One, obviously, the Jaguar cars and the history of all that, which is amazing. And the second thing being all the history of the Working Men's Club. So the way we look at it, Working Men's Clubs are sort of going out of fashion a little bit, the way things are sort of happening in today's more digital, sort of consumer-driven society. But a supporters club is like the natural modern-day baton holder of what an older Working Men's Club would like to have done for the community, to get good beers in a place where people socialise. So, you know, we see it as a sort of a neat sort of forerunner to what we're doing, and we'd like to get the plaque back. And also, I think CISA, BST, and all the other groups have played such a big part in our history. Wouldn't it be nice to get a plaque to commemorate that as well? So the building where the Jaguar cars were built, the building where, you know, the protest movement was born and sort of headquartered at during the years. You know, there's a lot of history there.
Thing is, a bit of I'll give you this one for free, but if you can get Jaguar to sponsor, you might be able to get Gricey a company car, mightn't you?
Yeah, I can see him driving up in a sheepskin and a
Speaking of signs, Andy, are you maintaining that sign that says as you're coming from Lytham Road, is it Lytham Road? It says the nearest watering hole to get a drink before the ground, or something like that.
We are.
Is that what is that stuff?
Yeah. And we're going through the design phases. We managed to get all the signage down, which in itself was quite an interesting little challenge. And local companies working on that and doing a cracking job and giving us the various iterations and designs. So that will all be in place prior to the opening. So the illuminated signs, we've just been getting the colour scheme right and the designs. But yeah, we'll keep that one. A few people have said, you've got to keep so old school, isn't it?
I tell you what, it's a shame we can't find the old Centre of Excellence sign in the training ground. Get that. That'd actually be quite funny to have up in the air.
Absolutely.
It would. That is part of our history, because I mean, I think I've said it on here, but it's quite funny because that picture that everybody always sees was taken by Casper's Varpins, of all people, and because I went to show him, I said, "Have you ever?" I met him one day, and I said, "Have you ever been to the training ground?" And he said, "No." So I took him down about 7 o'clock one night, and we nipped over the fence, because it was all half that concrete wall was knocked down, so you could just climb over it. And we went round, and I'd never seen that sign before. And I said, "Look at that!" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to have to take a picture and show Valeri." So he took the picture, then sent it to me, and I, of course, cascaded it down everywhere. But it's actually Casper's who took that.
Really?
And
Gosh.
some great
Yeah.
stories.
Probably in a skip somewhere, isn't it? Just regarding that comment coming in from Dennis Hutch, this is related to when you were talking about doing the fabrication work in the building. Andy, Dennis says, was KO doing the fabrication?
Yeah. Things that we were fabricating, certain people would like hold of them and wrap them round Carl Oyster.
Yeah, that centre of excellence sign for one. Whack. So, viewers out on the live stream, if you've got any questions for Andy, do get them in. We'll be addressing your questions to Andy shortly. Tim, Nick, do you have anything more for Andy?
I think the only one for me was obviously we've got these restrictions and the government have delayed people going back into matches for the foreseeable. I suppose that makes it harder for you, but also more important that it can be filled as much as possible for things other than just on match day. You mentioned about getting different teams involved, snooker, pool, darts, that sort of thing. I suppose that's really important, isn't it? Whilst you're not going to have that great number of people in on a Saturday that you would have if we were all able to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that. So, I mean, we've got to work within the restrictions, what they are. But, the function room upstairs is great. The bar downstairs is super. There's some really good sound systems already in there. We've had some really great technical people down there helping us get everything sorted on the technology side of things. So to cater for things, everything from, all the family celebrations, we could do anything like that, birthdays, christenings, all that stuff. Obviously, it's going to be difficult at the moment because of the COVID restrictions, but we've got a nice wall planner up there, and we've got all the dots on there for all the Blackpool games, because they're all our key games, all our home and away games. We want people in there doing what we can do and packing it out. But yeah, anybody else that wants to come forward or show an interest, we'll be taking bookings. And then, we've got certain good ideas in terms of events that we want to run. I mean, everywhere we're going, we're sort of pushing against an open door, and things like, for instance, having, quiz nights, however we can manage those, but having ex-players down there, on the various tables, because we've got, great people out there to do with the ex-players, like so Tony Green and Glyn James, Eamon O'Keefe, that are very active, and they're all supported Derek Spence, obviously. And then maybe, people said, well, Stuart Parker is a good friend of ours, and why don't we get some footage up from Stuart Parker? I mean, his first game, a full-time game for Blackpool, first team appearance, was a 3-1 win away at Newcastle. And, these great bits of little history that are just so interesting. Get Stuart down. Stuart will come down and talk and then sign autographs or reminisce. Things like that. A nice, interesting thing, And England games, we can do things there, and other team games or whatever. We can commemorate and create some really sort of good events, hopefully. But we need to get it busy because, we're going to have to get some revenue in there. So I'll just hasten to add again, internal, external signage. We've got a lot of packages and things available. We're sort of looking for anybody from the business. £250 above packages we're looking to do and get some advertising sorted. So if anybody interested out there wants to chip in or assist, it would be most helpful, because if we get 2 or 3 of those, well, that's going to pay for the insurance. A few more, well, that'll pay for some of the Cat 5 cabling, or maybe an extra till, or the chip and pin machines, because they all need to be paid for,
So what's that for again, Andy? 250 quid for?
So what we thought was we could start packages from there. So that'll be just some internal and maybe a little bit of external advertising for a business. They say, well, we can't afford to sponsor one of the rooms, but would like to get involved. We want to make it, so we'll have posters around, we'll have things on the televisions, and we'll have company logos like they have at the cricket club. You see.
Yeah.
There. So all these little amounts, I mean, it's not a small amount, but in terms of business sponsorship, it's not an enormous amount, but local businesses that want to get involved, if they get in touch, we can work something out.
Right.
Right.
I might dip into our Patreon fund account actually and get our name up there for 250 quid. It's quite a reasonable amount. Listeners, viewers, patreon.com, you can see it there. Patreon.com/SeasidersPod. That's where we ask for not donations, just help with our show. And there's a tiny war chest building up there. So I think what a great place to spend some of it in this bar. Yeah. Tim, anything more from you for Andy
You
before
could,
we move on?
you could sponsor that. You could sponsor the not a penny more bottle bar as people come in.
Yeah,
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
That'd be quality. That.
yeah, and above the bar. So somebody says, "Well, we'll sponsor the Billiard Lounge if they're not up anymore." We'll get some artwork so it's on display there for the season, sponsored by, Adam's podcast or firm of solicitors, or I don't know what.
Like Blackhurst Bud? Them, yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they?
I was thinking more.
Right. Anyway, Tim, anything more from you for Andy, question-wise?
No, not a question really. Just I think you're doing a great effort, mate. Very inspiring. It was great to go down there this evening, just have a quick look round, and I've made some couple of suggestions, as you know, and I'm prepared to put a little bit of effort in myself if that helps a couple of those things come off. So good luck with it all. I'll hopefully be there on week Saturday, and if not before, and really, really impressed with everything you're doing. That's all I really got to say.
Cheers, Tim. Appreciate that, mate.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think it's absolutely phenomenal amount of work that you've done in a short space of time. Like we said before, probably me and John DIY might not be our thing, but we'll help out in any way we can. Yeah. And if anyone who's listening to the show can help in any way, shape, or form, get in touch through the show or get in touch with Higgi and help out if you can, because it's going to be fantastic, and well done to all involved.
Yeah, just really echo what Nick and Tim have said there. I can't really say anything more about it. Just well done, Andy. It's an absolutely brilliant initiative from yourself and everyone else who's been involved in getting this up and running. I'm really looking forward to going. I just can't wait to get in that bar and get bladdered in there. Right, let's move on to a few questions and comments from listeners just to close things off. Lee Goods, known to us all. Hi, Lee. Lee says, evening, just watched the promo video, looked amazing. I have a few bits of memorabilia I can donate if you can make use of. So yeah, get in touch with Andy there, Lee. Athers, what's he put as his name here? Tables, Athers and chairs.
Lazarus.
Hi lads, won't be able to get down until COVID-19 does one, but bought an Armfield Club 3-year membership today. See you in 2021, hopefully. And there you go, Andy. 3 years from Joe. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cliff Smith says, evening, everybody. Edinburgh Seaside are here. Good luck with this venture. Happy to support it with a 3-year membership. Another one for you there, Andy. 3 years. I only did a year.
Yeah, great.
Tight gets us. What we got here? Scotty Martin, place looks terrific. I always wondered why it's not a fans bar. So all good things coming. We're always big now. We're bloody massive. A bit of punctuation required there, I think, Scott. Tracy Manson looks a great venue and much needed when COVID goes. Andrew Fozzie Forsyth had a few meetings in the war room. Has anyone? Is that do you two understand that?
Fozzie, we know Fozzie, don't we? Good goalkeeper, Fozzie, Polson lad. Yeah.
I think there was a few of the TK underground covert operations meetings took place.
Operation.
Say no more.
In fact, Tim, do you remember when you told me about the action being taken against you? That was in there. Do you remember? It was me, you, Kev, you and Kev, and you told me then what was happening with you. It was like, we were in there. We're in the club.
There's a lot happening in that room over the years, isn't there?
Yeah.
Definitely has.
Yeah, hopefully a lot more will happen again in the future, won't there?
Yeah. Good stuff now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My dad had his last ever pint in there. He said that'll be the last game I ever see, and this will be the last party I ever have. So yeah, a bit of sweet memory, but we'll move on quickly from that. Lee again says, love the fact the old Jag Lounge is the war room, very apt. And from Leon Smith, is there a franking room for Higgi? Is that relating to your business, Andy?
Yes, it is. It is. Yes. So if anybody out there needs a franking machine,
I'm surprised you've not got your sign behind you.
I've got some business cards on hand.
Come on, show it to the screen. There we go.
You can always see that behind the goal of the south end at the Armfield end.
Yeah,
Postal
it
and
shows
data
up
system.
Really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I said that to Tim and Nick, Andy, when we were around at Tim's watching. I think it was the Everton game at Tim's house, his big TV. And I said, "Look at Andy's sign there; it really stands out. It's really good colours." Yeah,
He's not daft, is he?
yeah, he's not.
Yes.
Gary Ford, brilliant, well done. Also got a 3-year membership. Used to love the old supporters bar, which was a dive, but it was ours. Great to have a supporters club back. Another one from Cliff Smith. And you've just mentioned you've reached out to all supporters groups. Has this included the SAS? Seasiders across Scotland. That's a new one on me. We're here and ready to support and assist wherever we can. Andy, have you reached out to the SAS?
You know, I haven't personally, but if you can drop me an email, we will reach out. We're speaking to all of them. So yes, that might be an oversight on my part. Maybe one of my colleagues has, but I haven't personally. So that's my oversight. So apologies, my friend. I would love to be in touch with you very soon and welcome you down for a wee schwally. Supporter bar, my friend.
Cliff then goes on to say, I'd contribute to a Kickstarter crowdfunder type initiative. Maybe you want to look into this, Andy.
I've just had a text off Grimmy actually about doing something in the war room. So watch this space.
In relation to what?
We've had a chat about when I've been over to Dortmund and I've gone in their museum. They've done like a glass walkway through part of it, which actually under the glass has a load of memorabilia that fans donate. So rather than because obviously you've got limited wall space and sometimes you can clog it up too much. So one way of actually displaying it very, very effectively is to put it under your feet and have some form. We'd have to think about it, but how you'd want it to look. But having a glass walkway that would have all that stuff on it that you could walk into the room and walk around the room and view while you have a drink. And there's a couple of text messages and it's doable, but we might need some money. So maybe that's something that could be incorporated into the war room. Because I know the guys want ideas for that, and I know BST have probably got some ideas, and other people have some. But it's just about joining it up, isn't it? Really, and thinking about what you can do that's different. And anyway, so I'll be making some inquiries about that and seeing what it would cost, and so if there are people who want to contribute, maybe that's one way they could do it.
Yeah, super idea, Tim. I think that the certain projects and things, we're just going to get this bar open and as quick as we can get it all done. But then there's so many projects. Obviously, the wall room won't be completed when we open. It'll be plastered. It'll be look lovely. It'll be fine. It'll be great, and it'll be functional. But it's not going to be. That's one of our first big projects, to get that all properly decorated and done properly with all the memorabilia and, like you say, these other ideas. So we'll be throwing that out to all the super seasiders across the world, all their ideas. So it reflects all of us, really, because, we feel as though we're just sort of raising the gauntlet, really, on behalf of everybody else behind us, really, because, we're just taking the initiative. But we're proud to be doing this on behalf of all the Blackpool fans, really. We want to make sure we give it our best shot and do the best thing. So everyone's going to be really proud of it. That's what we're really conscious of, the level of detail and the amount of love and energy going into it to make it just absolutely perfect is what you want to see, really. So it's
I've got a bit of a rough question for you now, Andy.
Rough.
See if you can handle this. John Ashton, on my match day, can I bring my dog?
Do you know what? I'm not certain what the score is with dogs. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
I think there's a joke there as well, actually. I won't go down that route.
We're talking a canine. Dear me.
Right, swiftly moving on. I'm not even going to try to read that username. Memjura86UK. Mentioned AVFT.
86
Okay.
UK.
There you go.
Probably that, John.
I think my bins need an extra number in the prescription. He or she says mentioned AVFTT, but gable end facing wall facing bloomers would sure look great with BFC and tower mural on it or something. Sure, some local graffiti people could do it. Would look great. Yeah, I think we've covered that. This one's for you, Andy. Any plans for an Armfield Club anthem?
That's from Trevor Clacker. That South Shore Ale cans.
Trevor, I've still got your T-shirt here that you ordered about 4 months ago, mate. I've still packed up in the hallway for you, pal. Well, gosh, who knows? I mean, we're a musical lot, aren't we, us Seasiders? So I'm sure we'll come up with something, really. Yeah, I mean, music's infused our little protest over the years, hasn't it, when you think about it? We've got the Afro Man there. We've got that, usual band IDFS. I won't mention that name on here. Yeah, so it would be rude not to, wouldn't it? So there's got to be, as Nietzsche said, without music, life would be a mistake. So we'll have to get some in there.
Get your axe out, Andy.
And you've got a stage, haven't you?
Well, we have. There's one downstairs in the main room in the far corner, which has got a tremendous PA system with it, and the one upstairs, and we've got lighting and everything there. So, yeah.
Get on it, Andy.
Yeah, well,
I quite like the idea.
Grimshaw said, "We don't want you getting up there. We want to fill this bar, Higgy. We don't want to enter."
We get people in.
I quite like the idea of having a few comedians on as well, actually, because again, if you've got various people out there trying to establish themselves, if you can give them like an open mic session for 20 minutes, half an hour, comedy club night or something, that could be great, couldn't it? Because normally you have to go into Manchester for stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be super. We've even had an inquiry about a book club meeting there, maybe a football related book club, maybe interesting, all different areas of culture catered for at the Armfield Club.
The Blackpool Culture Club. I like it. This is from John Scott. May have missed this, but are you doing food? It's a good question, actually.
Yes, it is a very good question. In terms of something we'd like to do in time, yes, for sure. In terms of our ability to do that in the time up to opening, we've not been able to do anything. We've not got a kitchen facility or anything there.
Get a pie warmer.
Well, that's going to be the thing, really. Yeah. So somebody locally who can assist with that, who maybe wants to organise something with us, it would be nice because everyone likes after the game or whatever, a pie or whatever. Yeah, it'd be a super thing to do.
Your man below me here, he's the food expert around here.
Yeah. Pie and beer expert.
Pie expert as well, yeah.
he's quite the cordon bleu chef, Andy, on the quiet, isn't Nick? He's very handy in the kitchen.
Well, doesn't he, really, on my iPhone?
Yeah, I'm going grey like him.
True Seaside says, are you thinking of advertising the bar in the ground, ad boards on the screen, discount with ticket, etc.?
Possibly in time, yeah, maybe. And I've got to say, the club have been so supportive with us, they really have, which is a great thing. And because we're all lovers of the club, we know. But yeah.
Can't imagine the Oystons doing that if they said they were still in charge. They'd see it as competition, wouldn't they? Trying to win you out.
Well, I don't think we'd have a club if they were still in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that they're helping us flourish and helping us grow and being supportive. We've had some chats, things like, if we can do anything to help the club in terms of, people pre-buying the tickets, if the members and they say, we want to pick our tickets up from there rather than queue, that's fine. What about buying programs? If people want to come around and sell the programs, that's super. Anything we can do to make the life easier and more enjoyable for Blackpool fans and Blackpool FC, just pushing against an open door, really. Anything we can do to help that, would be great to help, really. Yeah.
Excellent. Chris Priest says, anyone in mind to cut the tape on the grand opening? Another great question. Yes,
there is. So John and Duncan Armfield and their respective families will be down. We'll get a bit more out on social media about this for the sort of schedule of events that we're thinking of for the 3rd. There'll be some other people there in attendance as well, which we would like to sort of publicise. But I was just on this one. I was in discussion with John and Duncan going back months and months about this because we sat down and said, this has got to be called the Armfield. Jimmy Statue's looking over on it. Our greatest, most famous player. What better name, really? So I know John reasonably well. We used to play in the same football team and many years ago, on the same five-a-side team after we'd both sort of jacked in 11-a-side. And so I spoke at length with John and Duncan about that. So John and Duncan will be there. Going to do a bit of a double act on the day. Other people, yeah.
That's perfect people to open it. Yeah, that'll be great. This is quite funny. Just going back to the kids' room. David Underwood says oyster pinatas for the kids in the top room.
Great idea.
Never mind, just the kids. I think we'd all like to have a go on that, wouldn't we?
As well,
pound a ticket, you'd make a fortune.
Tell you what.
Brian, you'll make a fortune.
Yeah. This time next year, Rodders.
Just a general comment there. Ippy Nats can't wait for this place to open. Well done to all involved. And he also goes on to say, is it a listed building? I remember reading that somewhere, or was it on the video? That it's a listed building, is that right?
Do you know what? I'm not entirely sure. If it's got a blue plaque on it, which the building to the right had, does that make it a listed building?
I'm sure, same as John, I've read something or heard something somewhere.
You definitely said that on the video, but I'm not sure putting a blue plaque on it makes it listed. There's not many listed.
Maybe a centre of excellence sign will make it listed.
There's not many listed buildings in South Beach, is there? Come on.
Yeah.
Actually, there is apart from the those little shelters that are on the front on the promenade. They are apparently.
Oh, great.
Surely BBE HQ is a listed building with the great minds that emanate from there.
Yeah,
no blue plaque though.
And if not, there should be.
Yeah. That university of brilliance within the profession. Yeah.
If he then goes on to say, is Leanne going to be behind the bar? Number 12? I don't get that. What does that mean?
He's not going to be behind the bar.
Is Leanne going to be behind the bar?
Well, Leanne asked the question before about franking.
Okay. So, yeah, if he wants to know, is she going to be a barmaid?
Well, she could be the pie tester. She's a bit. She likes the pies, doesn't she?
Okay, you're a brave man, Tim, saying this.
No, but she says it honestly, doesn't she? She's
don't get on the wrong side of young Leanne. Oh dear me. But we are interviewing for bar staff at the moment. Andy is, and so he's getting his team together. So if anybody's listening and wants some part-time work and has got a bar staff experience, get in touch.
All right, there you go.
Employment in the local area down there, because it needs it, doesn't it? Really,
it certainly does. Bradley Motherwell, can't wait to get with everyone's COVID is gone. The war room sounds great, along with this history with Jaguar. It sounds as though all the hard work you have put in will pay off big time. Right, finally, last question or comment. Watch out, Tim will be dancing away with his vintage cider.
My reputation goes before me, doesn't it?
And quite a dancer. I've seen Tim moving after a few sherbets, not quite at goals, but he can move the boys. Got to set with them, haven't you, Tim, lad?
I think that should be a turn one night, Andy.
Dab dance.
Dancing Tim after 3 pints of vintage cider.
There is one last comment come up, actually, John, and it's a good one from Dave Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Special nights reminiscing of memorable events such as the Anglo-Italian Cup. That's a good idea, isn't it?
Perfect.
Put a night on like that. That's a great idea.
I mean, we could run that game. I mean, what a great game. That's one of my first ever memories of Blackpool Football Club. I was 4 years of age at the time. But yeah, and that Mickey Burns winner, I mean, I could watch that 100 times over. So what a great idea.
I've never seen it.
Oh, right. Yeah. You're young, aren't you? It's a whippersnapper, aren't you?
No, I've never seen that game, ever. Right.
Oh.
Right. On that note, this has taken an hour 15. We had planned to do a few more just general Blackpool stuff with this, but we've run out of time, an hour 15. But what a fabulous show, and what a great initiative, Andy. So all the best. Anyway, I'm sure I speak for all Blackpool fans out there, and I wish this venture of yours nothing but success, and I'm sure it will be with all us behind you. So well done again. Yeah,
cheers, John. Thanks for having me, mate. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So thanks for watching this, everybody. Thanks for watching on the live stream. Thanks for your comments. This will be coming out in podcast form very shortly, so listen out for that. Friday, we've got Sam doing his Friday night preview show where he's going to be previewing the Gillingham game with a Gillingham fan and doing his thing there. And 6:06 on Saturday. So thanks for joining us, Nick.
My pleasure, as always.
Thanks again, Tim.
Loved it tonight. It's been great.
Yeah. And to up the pool.
Up the
Up the
pool.
pool.
Well, boys, come on the Super Team.